Good evening. Today, going to take a look at SunOS 4.1.4, so the last of the BSD SunOSs. End of the line, so that was early to mid 90s. Going to be doing this here on the SPARCstation 10, and as you can see, there are two ROS HyperSpark modules in there. So let's just take a look. I can type. There we go. So we've got two of these, not big cache on these. These are ones with the quarter meg cache, but still two CPUs, 125 meg. Pretty good. So we're going to be installing SunOS 4.1.4 or Solaris 1.1.2 under the newfangled marketing parlance. There's the storage here is provided by a SCSI to SD. We got a SD card in there. It's configured for the first part of it. First 700 megs is SCSI ID 6. We're calling it a Sony CDU 8032. And the next segment of it is a 2 gig slice, and we are calling that just a regular drive. So let's boot from the CD and go from there. We'll give it a -V so we can see the fun boot messages as it gets some verbose booting here. Now I'm using Minicom. I like to usually use Screen for my terminal software here, as I should say we're connected in via the serial port, the console port. But I'm going to need to flip back and forth between 8N1 and 7E1 because for whatever reason BSD Legacy, as you'll see here, that is some 7-bit stuff. So this seems the most straightforward. If anyone has a better suggestion on how to deal with this, flipping back and forth quickly, please let me know. I would appreciate it. So first things first, we're going to partition, right? So set up the disk, label it, partition it. I already have labeled it, but let's go through and partition it. So here's our current table. We're essentially going to double partitions A, which is root, B, which is swap, and G, which is user/user. H is the FreeHog partitioner by default, so that will just eat up whatever space is left. So let's start here. And I will have to do some math in my head right now. The starting cylinder is easy, but we're going to need the number of blocks. So bear with me as I do some mental arithmetic. What is that? 62320. That's going to be 12. I'm just going to do this on a calculator. Make it easy. So that is going to be 12, 4640. Looks right. So now we're going to do partition B. This is probably riveting YouTube watching right now, watching me partition things with ancient tools, but it's important to get this right. We're going to have to print this again. So now we're up at 82. So we have to, I could have figured that out. So we'll do this one by 3. We're going to do swap is going to go up from, call it 100 megs to 300 megs. I have 272 megs of RAM in here, so we want to have plenty of room. And we're going to do that by 3. That'd be 197. 600 times 3. Okay. Okay, we're moving forward here, making some progress. So now we're going to do user, and we'll just double user, right? So doubling user, well, let's just call it, we'll just call it 400,000 blocks. Sound good? Just to avoid me having to do any math. So that's G. New starting cylinder is 390. Do and then the free hog should take up the rest. Okay. Yep, I think this should do it. So we're labeling the disk. Disk is labeled. And let's just see if this is here. Yes, that's correct. So we're going to get out of here. And a Control D to get back to the installation prompt. And we're going to put the mini root on. And this will let us then boot in to the proper install program. After that, as I say, riveting watching for the partitioning. So hopefully I did the partitioning right. I don't know if those numbers are correct. They look to be. One of the things is I went through this before and I had a failure. And I don't know the root of the failure. I was using a just kind of jelly bean micro SD card, and I don't know if that was the problem, or if it was just some other failure. So we're going to reboot here. While I do that, let me flip this back to 81 or 8N1 while that goes back. So the Jelly Bean micro SD kept throwing SCSI errors in the SCSI to SD, and I hadn't experienced that before. So I picked up some more Samsung Evo SD cards, micro SD, and these are the ones I've had the best success with the SCSI to SD. And again, it varies. Things like the Microvax didn't seem to have this problem with the Jelly Bean micro SD. So maybe because I'm pushing a little bit more data through it here. FYI, there's now a beta for a version 6 SCSI to SD, and they say there's 10 megabyte per second transfer speeds, which I'm pretty excited about because that is pretty impressive. So I'm hoping those are brought to the US soon. They are currently not in the US market, but hopefully soon. Okay, so our mini root is booted. As you can see, we got SunOS 4.1.4 mini root. And this really is a blast from the past. I've never installed SunOS 4.1.4. I've been a Sun guy all my life. In fact, SunOS 4 series stuff was my first exposure. But I was a young person, 10, 11 years old or something. First playing around, maybe even a little younger, playing around with Sun gear. And so I've never gone through the install. But a quick read of the documentation. I think we're good here. So I think we want a custom installation. And we're going to do VT100. Don't want to US Central. Yeah, so the real-time clock chip that I replaced is certainly working well. Okay. X. Call that guy Spark 10. It's standalone. Yeah, LA0. Give it 125. Easy to remember. We're not going to do NIS, although I may set up a NIS domain. I think that would make some good videoing. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you want to see something on NIS. Great technology of a small group of Unix machines. It's perfect. It's a lot lighter weight than something like LDAP. Not to say there's anything wrong with LDAP, but that is what it is. None. Yeah, we don't want to reboot. Yes. SD0, and in Sun parlance, SCSI ID 3 is disk 0. Whatever. Use existing. Yeah, preserve. Okay, we are flying through the installation dialogues. I do have to say, considering the era this was in, and I don't know, I mean, I guess one of my more recent videos we're looking at Ultrix 4.5. So this is really the same era. I think this may have been even a couple years before Ultrix 4.5, but look at the polish of this, right? This is amazingly concise and easy to walk through. For someone who's had a little bit of a read of the documentation, it is just a breeze compared to Ultrix, which was moderately confusing. We're just going to do all and go from there. Yep. Those are the bits and pieces I want when I say all. Okay, so starting the installation. I'm probably going to pause this and we'll come back to it while it does its thing, because there's not much to see here except some installation log messages, which probably aren't terribly exciting. So I'm going to go have some coffee, something like that, and I'll pick this back up when we're ready to boot into the new image. And it's done. Time for a reboot, and let's see what's happening with the system. Let's check out the installed SunOS 4.1.4. I'm going to switch back to 8N1. Kind of annoying. I know I could have gone into OpenBoot, and there's an environment variable to set up your serial port. Problem is, I may forget, and this seems easier for the time being. Probably not. Like I say, any ideas how to switch better here, let me know. Because this was, like I say, a little annoying. But hopefully we now have a working SunOS 4 system. Hopefully I didn't botch the partitioning. Now, so you have to see how the performance of these HyperSparcs work out. Obviously, the SCSI to SD is a little limiting, right? So it's, compared to things of the early 90s, drives of the early 90s, yeah, it's comparable. But as you move on from there, it's certainly the 2.5 megs per second peak transfer rate. Not as good. That's why I'm interested in the version 6. They can do 4 times that. Okay, that doesn't look... That does not look right. My Lance Ethernet here, that should be Twisted Pair. But that is obviously... should I switch back to 7-bit? It said it should be 8-bit when it comes up. Yeah. So it does that little bit in 7E1 and then goes back to 8. Unusual. Okay, it's VT100. Take a look at our messages. So it's detected the two CPUs. We have our memories available here. Not quite enough. I didn't put quite enough swap there. Not quite enough, right? So should have had that. Let's see what else. Is networking working? Looks like it is. Well, this is pretty cool. Let's get in via Telnet, so we don't have to mess around with the serial speeds. Well, that's not going to help. Pretty cool. So we're now up and running. Take a look at file systems. Okay, so good thing I expanded it. Again, in the documentation, I said, said what the maximum size was, and I think with their default partitioning scheme, it would have left enough room for it. But now we have a little bit extra to play with. Pretty small. What is that? That's 3. Is that 3? Or are these in blocks? Yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be in, that should be in blocks? No, megs? I don't know. Oh yeah, it's K, right? What am I doing? I really need to have 2 cups of coffee before I record these videos. Yeah, so there we have, let's call that 60 megs, of which en route we've used 4 megs, right? Rounded 3.8 megs, but yeah, 4 megs is all this thing takes for its root file system. So this is pretty cool. Let's see what's in Etsy. So I did not configure a router, so we shouldn't have one. That's good. I also didn't configure name lookups. And one of the interesting things is, I think SunOS, and again, I haven't played with this in a while, but you need it needs to get its name lookups from NIS, right? From NIS. It cannot do DNS out of the box. I could be wrong on that. So we got a compiler. Do we have Fortran? No. We don't have Fortran. Oh, that's fine. What does uname report? Okay, well this is pretty exciting. So we got our base system up. Probably do another video on maybe doing a little bit of benchmarking here. See how these CPUs stack up with some others. Maybe adding some software. Thinking about bootstrapping GCC. That would take a while, right? So what this is probably going to need some space allocated via NFS. SunOS Solaris have always been good with NFS. The NFS should be faster. Now, one of the things I may want to do. Now, I have a SunSwift card, right? So that's, what was that, single-ended fast Ethernet? Single-ended fast SCSI and 100 megabit Ethernet. Right now, we're only in at the 10 megabit interface, which that'll be pretty slow for doing any real file transfers. But maybe that'll be fun. Let me know. Comment if you want to see benchmarking, bootstrapping GCC, playing around with anything here. Let's see what else we can do here. I have an idea. See if I can bring up nope, that is not working, but this might. Not do a query, just do this. See where I'm connected from. We're 13. So let's see if we can get some open Windows stuff up. Nope. Oh, seashell. That's always fun. Let's see, did this work? Where did I not do? Restart that. And we sort of have the open look. Let's see. Something's going on. Probably color palette. So there's some issue there, but we've got open look. So that may need a little bit of additional tweaking. We can bring up the shell tool. Okay, so not perfect, but OpenLook seems to run decently smoothly over the network here. It is crawling out for some display manager to be running, so we can do a remote login here. Again, that's yet to be configured. Wish I had a way to capture the analog output here, the frame buffer, so the video output, because it has old SunOS had something called SunView, which was a competitor to X, and then there was News, which was something else. So its actual X server, I think, even up to this point, was something called X News, which I think lasted into the Solaris days. Not really important, but News was a pretty nifty system that it was unfortunate it never took off. But SunView, and I don't know if you can do SunView remotely, because obviously it's not X. So these sort of tricks here, like using XNest or Zephyr, shouldn't work. But I don't know, any recommendations for how to do video capture out of a SPARCstation and also an SGI would be handy. So basically for this, I think this is what, a CG6. So CG6 or a TGX should be able to do 1024x768 at 255 colors, I think. If not, it would be 1152 by 900. Yeah, I'm dithering. I think this is enough for this video. Do leave a comment below if you'd like to see something particular about the SunOS 4 system. I'm going to have some fun in refamiliarizing myself with its antiqueness, because it is from the 90s. But thankfully, like any good Unix distribution in the day, you get a C compiler. Let's figure out, do we also get make? Yes, we get make. So, yeah, it's missing some stuff, right? So, let's take a look at what's in bin. And then I'll end the video, because it's probably been 20 minutes of video. You get C shell and Bourne shell. Let's see if we get anything. Any other shells? Nope. We do not, which is a little... What's in 5bin? So this is probably... 5bin is probably the System 5 stuff. Pretty interesting. Let's see. Seems to handle the Y2K stuff just fine. And probably a future video. Probably I'm going to record it. later this evening once I have a little bite to eat, and then do it in here a little bit. Taking a look at Ultrix 11. So mid 80s era, kind of their ultimate version, mid 80s, 16-bit Unix for the PDP-11. So I'm interested, and this is very exciting. If only I had a good Sony Sun monitor, I would be using this thing as my day-to-day workstation. I've got the Sun Type 4 keyboard hooked up to the PC to do typing, but I mean, there's nothing quite as good as that in terms of human interface. It's where, it's probably the difference between the modern stuff and some, let's just say, an economy car versus a luxury car. Fit and finish and feel wildly different. Even if your Honda Civic can go a lot faster than your, I don't know, Rolls Royce. I don't know. Lack of a better, I can't think of any cars. But anyway, enough jibber jabber from me. SunOS 4.1.4. There'll be more videos on this topic to come. Thanks.